there is a part of you that you've never met, because the world is too loud for you to hear it. Every day, the moment you wake up, noise rushes in. Notifications, news, opinions, expectations, traffic, headlines, timelines, to-do lists. Your mind becomes a battlefield before your feet even hit the ground. You start chasing without knowing what you're chasing. You start responding before you've even remembered who you are. And so the day owns you, not because you're weak, but because you never took a moment to take it back. That's why this matters. That's why I'm asking you to do something uncomfortable. Simple but rare. Not dramatic, but profound. Spend just 10 minutes in complete silence. No music, no scrolling, no responding, no performing, just silence. Not because it's trendy, not because it's some spiritual buzzword, but because silence is where you return to yourself. It's where you strip away everything the world has told you to be and listen, for the first time in a long time, to what your soul has been whispering all along. This is not meditation. This is not a tactic. This is not a productivity act. This is a meeting, a sacred appointment with your true self. And the reason it feels awkward is because you've been too distant for too long. Most people never do this. They live their entire lives reacting, plugged into a matrix of noise, never questioning, never slowing, never stopping long enough to feel the full weight of their own presence. But the greatest power you can ever tap into is the power of undistracted awareness. That quiet moment when the noise fades and the truth begins to rise. At first, it will be uncomfortable. You'll feel fidgety. Your brain will scream for stimulation. You'll want to check something, anything, but wait. Stay. Sit in it. Because that tension is the beginning of liberation. That silence. It's not empty. It's full. Full of clarity, full of truth, full of answers you've been chasing in books, in podcasts, in people, but that have been inside you the entire time, waiting. Not for more information, but for less interference. 10 minutes. That's all. 10 minutes of stillness in a world addicted to motion. 10 minutes of presence in a world chasing performance. 10 minutes of depth in a world that drowns in the shallow. That is your edge. Not speed, not hustle, not who can reply faster or scroll longer. Your edge is who can sit in silence and not run from themselves. Who can sit with their thoughts without distraction. Who can meet their emotions without numbing. Who can sit with the noise inside until it burns off. And what's left is clarity. Because when you come out of that silence, the world doesn't look the same. You don't move the same. You speak with more weight, you act with more certainty, you love with more depth. And most importantly, you stop being pulled by everything. You start moving from within. The moment you start spending 10 minutes a day in complete silence, you stop being just another player in the game. You become the one who sees the game for what it really is. You begin to notice how much of your life has been reaction, how often you've confused motion with meaning, noise with significance, and urgency with truth. And suddenly, what used to seem important feels irrelevant. You realize that clarity doesn't come from consuming more, it comes from cutting away. In silence, you meet your thoughts without filter. You watch the stories your mind spins. You confront the patterns you've ignored. You see clearly what you've been avoiding under the mask of being busy. And that confrontation, that honesty, that stillness, it becomes the foundation of all transformation. Because when you build your life from silence, you don't build from fear. You build from awareness. You don't make decisions to prove something. You make them from alignment. You stop chasing timelines that aren't yours. You stop trying to impress people who don't even know themselves. You no longer need validation because you've already heard the only voice that matters, your own. 10 minutes in silence each day won't make you superhuman. It will make you real. And being real in a world of noise, that's what makes you unstoppable. When everyone else is speeding up, you slow down. Not because you're behind, but because you're ahead. You've mastered the part of life they're still afraid to face, yourself. And once you master that, nothing outside you can touch you. Silence teaches you to lead yourself, to regulate your emotion without stimulation, to calm your mind without a screen, to sit with discomfort until it teaches you something. This isn't just a habit, it's an identity. The kind of identity that doesn't flinch in chaos, that doesn't panic in the unknown. Silence becomes your compass, your training ground, your spiritual gym. And like any muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it gets. At first, it's hard. 10 minutes can feel like forever. But then one day, it becomes the best part of your day. Not because it's peaceful, but because it's honest. And in that honesty, you find everything you thought was missing. Clarity, strength, purpose, direction. You realize you were never lost. You were just never quiet enough to listen. The world will not reward you for being still. It will not praise you for pausing, for listening, for sitting alone in a room without a screen in your hand and a soundtrack in your ears. It will tell you to hustle, to consume, to stay plugged in, to stay available, always available, to everything and everyone but yourself. But let me tell you something, the world won't. The most powerful person in any room is the one who does not need to fill the silence. The one who listens before they speak. The one who thinks before they move. The one who grounds themselves before they give themselves away. That's what silence builds. Inner gravity, depth. The kind of presence that doesn't need to be loud, to be felt. The kind of confidence that doesn't need to be explained. And you don't get that from running, you get that from sitting. From facing the noise inside you until it breaks and what's left is real. When you spend 10 minutes a day in complete silence, you begin to create space between stimulus and response. That space is where your power lives. It's where you choose how to show up instead of being dragged by impulse. It's where you take your life off autopilot, where you stop reacting out of fear and start responding with purpose. You stop sending that message you regret. You stop repeating that habit you hate. You stop waking up into someone else's life. Silence becomes your reset button, your mirror, your reminder, not just of who you are, but of who you're becoming. And every day you show up for it, something inside you calibrates, aligns, heals, evolves. Slowly, yes, but powerfully, permanently, and no one will see it at first. No one will notice the quiet change. But you'll feel it. You'll feel it when you walk into a room and don't need to prove anything. You'll feel it when stress shows up and you don't flinch. You'll feel it when the same old triggers hit, and you just breathe. Because you've trained for this, not in chaos, not in noise, but in silence, in the invisible space where transformation is born. That's the gift of stillness. It doesn't just calm you down, it rewires who you are. It makes you aware, awake, unshakable. Every time you enter silence, you're not escaping the world. You're re-entering it on your own terms. You're not withdrawing, you're reclaiming. That space, that stillness, that breath, that is your throne. And the more you sit in it, the more you realize you were never meant to live at the speed of algorithms. You were never meant to absorb the opinions of thousands before you've even had your morning coffee. You were never meant to spend your days being pinged, dinged, distracted, drained. You were meant to create. You were meant to lead. You were meant to live awake. And silence is what wakes you up. It detoxes you from the dopamine drip of distraction. It teaches your nervous system how to stop bracing for chaos. And in that moment, that breath, that nothingness, you don't feel weak. You feel clean. You feel like you again. 10 minutes in silence is not about getting peace. It's about removing what steals it. You strip away the noise, the lies, the urgency, the expectations. You sit with the discomfort of not doing, and that's where you build power. Because most people are afraid of boredom, afraid of being alone with their mind, afraid to face the mirror of stillness. But not you. You've chosen the path of growth. And growth is uncomfortable. Growth is slow. Growth is quiet. That's why most people never get there, because they're addicted to stimulation, mistaking motion for progress. But silence is where the real growth begins. It's where the soil of your life is tilled. It's where ideas take root. It's where wisdom is born. So do not underestimate this simple practice. Do not think it's soft or weak or passive. This is war, a quiet war, against the part of you that wants to hide in noise, against the fear that says, you can't stop, against the culture that says, be faster, louder, more. Silence is rebellion. Silence is discipline. Silence is leadership. And if you can sit with yourself for 10 minutes a day, you are doing what 99% of people will never do. You are choosing yourself over the chaos. When you sit in complete silence for just 10 minutes, you are reminding your body what it feels like to exist without being evaluated. You're not performing, you're not consuming, you're not reacting, and you're just being. And that state, that rare, unfiltered, uninterrupted awareness, that is where presence is born. That is where purpose begins to breathe. You can't fake it. You can't speed it up. You have to feel every second of it, the discomfort, the restlessness, the fidgeting, the voice in your head that wants to escape. But if you stay with it long enough, something deeper awakens. The noise begins to dissolve. The surface starts to settle. And what's left is real. That's the moment you see clearly. You see who you've been pretending to be. You see the lies you've believed. You see the masks you've worn to fit in, to please, to avoid being seen for who you truly are. And that raw truth, that unfiltered presence, it humbles you. It sharpens you. It calls you to rise. Because from that place, there are no more excuses. You can't hide behind busyness. You can't point fingers. You can't blame the world. In silence, the mirror doesn't blink. It just stares back, asking, are you ready? Ready to show up without distraction. Ready to create without comparing. Ready to live without seeking permission. And if your answer is yes, then everything changes. Because from that stillness, your actions become sharper. Your words carry more weight. Your energy becomes clean. You stop chasing approval because you've already approved yourself. You stop fearing failure because you've already met your truth, and it didn't destroy you. It freed you. You become immune to the noise, not because you ignore it, but because it no longer owns you. You don't react to everything anymore. You respond to what matters. And that space between reaction and response, that's where maturity lives. That's where power lives. That's where your future is shaped. 10 minutes. That's all it takes to begin the process of reclaiming your mind. It doesn't matter what your schedule looks like. It doesn't matter how loud the world gets. What matters is that you decide every day to show up for yourself in that silence, to stop running, to stop numbing, to stop pretending. And just listen. Because the guidance you're looking for, the clarity you've been chasing, it doesn't come from more noise. It comes from within. And within is a place you can only access through stillness, through presence, through the discipline of silence. The world has trained you to seek answers in volume, to measure truth by how loud it is, to assume the fastest, flashiest, most urgent voice must be the one worth listening to. But the real answers, the ones that change your life, they whisper. And if you're too busy to slow down, too distracted to go inward, too stimulated to sit still, you'll miss them. You'll keep chasing things that don't belong to you. You'll build a life that doesn't reflect you. You'll achieve goals that leave you empty, because they were never yours to begin with. That's why silence isn't just about recovery, it's about remembering. Remembering who you were before the noise told you who to be. Remembering the things that lit you up before comparison dimmed them. Remembering the strength inside you that doesn't come from a screen, a like, a comment, or a calendar full of calls. Your true self is not buried under a lack of motivation, it's buried under too much noise. Silence lifts the weight. You see, silence is where the soul stretches, where the mind breathes, where the body recalibrates. It's where you go to meet yourself without the filters. And the more you visit that space, the more you realize this isn't just 10 minutes of nothing. It's 10 minutes of everything. It's where your day begins with sovereignty, not stress. It's where your identity is shaped by vision, not reaction. It's where you build the foundation for emotional control, mental clarity, and unshakable presence. And the benefits don't end when the 10 minutes are over. They ripple into everything. Your conversations become deeper. Your work becomes more focused. Your movements become more deliberate. You stop living from urgency and start living from alignment. People will feel the shift before they understand it. They'll sense your calm. They'll notice your presence. They'll ask what changed. And they won't believe you when you say, I started sitting in silence for 10 minutes a day. Because how could something so small feel so powerful? How could doing nothing change everything? But that's the paradox of presence. You don't understand its power until you live inside it. You don't know how much you were carrying until you finally set it down. You don't know how disconnected you were until you truly reconnect. That's what silence gives you, not just peace, but power. The power to observe without judging, to feel without reacting, to choose without fear. And that power, that clarity, is yours now. You earned it not through more noise, more effort, or more stimulation, but through stillness. There will come a moment, maybe not today, maybe not this week, but a moment when you sit in silence and something inside you breaks. Not in a way that weakens you, but in a way that finally frees you. A tension you didn't know you were holding collapses. A mask you didn't know you were wearing dissolves. And in that quiet breakdown, a breakthrough rushes in. A deeper part of you wakes up. The part that's been watching all along. The part that's not impressed by how busy you are. The part that doesn't care how productive you've been. The part that just wants you back. Back in your body. Back in your presence. Back in alignment with the truth you've been avoiding. By filling every second with something. That moment changes everything, because once you meet your real self in silence, you can't go back to performing. You can't go back to pretending. You can't go back to reacting to every notification like it's urgent. You've seen what it feels like to be free, and you'll never unsee it. Silence gives you sovereignty. It hands you the keys to your own mind. It trains you to slow your thoughts instead of letting them speed you up. It teaches you to respond. From vision, not emotion. It reminds you are not your stress, you are not your schedule, you are not your inbox. You are the awareness behind it all. The still, steady, grounded presence that chooses how to show up, not just for the world, but for yourself. That is your true power. That is your edge. And the world won't give it to you. You have to claim it. Daily, deliberately, 10 minutes at a time. So make it a ritual, not a task, not a checkbox. A sacred commitment. A daily return to your center. The place where you don't need anything to feel whole. The place where clarity becomes louder than chaos. Where your inner voice becomes stronger than the outer noise. No technology can give you that. No external success can match that. No amount of hustle can replace that. 10 minutes of silence won't fix your life, but it will anchor it. And sometimes that's all you need. Not a new strategy, not a new app, just a return to yourself. A reminder of what's real. A reconnection to what matters. You will realize that silence was never the escape. It was the entrance. The entrance to yourself. The entrance to awareness. The doorway to freedom in a world built on digital slavery. While the world scrolls, you sit. While the world reacts, you observe. While others drown in distraction, you breathe into presence. And in that space, you remember. You remember that your attention is your life. That every ping, every buzz, every swipe is not just a moment lost. It's a piece of you being sold to something outside of you, but not anymore. You're awake now. You've taken the first step most people never will, the step into stillness. And now you understand what few ever do. If you can sit in silence, you can sit in power. Because the same discipline that holds you still is the discipline that will carry you through anything. So don't let the noise back in. Protect that space like it's sacred, because it is. It's the place where you remember what actually matters. It's where you make decisions without fear. It's where you plan without panic. It's where you love without armor. Every day that you return to that place, you become less reactive, less dependent, less shaken by the chaos around you. You become more steady, more sovereign, more you. And the world will try to shake that. It will try to lure you back into its rhythm, into urgency, into overstimulation, into proving, into performing. But you've been to the other side now. You've touched clarity. You've felt the power of your own stillness. And once you've felt it, no amount of noise can replace it. So keep going. Keep sitting. Keep listening. Let the silence become your practice. Let it become your protection. Let it become the soil where every great decision, Every strong move, every grounded thought begins. Let it be your morning armor, your evening reset, your daily rebellion against a culture addicted to chaos. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You just need to be the most rooted. And that root, that depth, that presence is built in the quiet. 10 minutes, no noise, no performance, just you. That's where the real work starts. That's where the transformation begins. Because in the end, it's not the loudest life that leaves the deepest mark. It's the most aligned. The one that's lived on purpose, not autopilot. The one that honors presence over popularity. The one that returns again and again to silence. Not because it's easy, but because it's essential. 10 minutes, that's all. 10 minutes of sacred stillness that rewires your nervous system, sharpens your thinking, cleanses your energy, and reconnects you to what's real. If you can give yourself that every single day, you won't just survive this world, you'll transcend it. Because the person who can master silence can master anything. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not next week, now. Close the app, set the timer, sit down, breathe, and meet the person you've been waiting to become. No music, no distraction, no noise, just you. And in that silence, everything will change.